Hi, welcome to the Stitch TV show. I'm Lynn.
And I'm Pam. We're happy you're joining us today. The Stitch is an online quilt talk show, the perfect soundtrack for your sewing room. Join us for twice monthly talk shows, virtual stitch-ins, book clubs, podcasts, celebrity interviews, all kinds of stuff.
All the things.
All the things.
All the things.
You can learn more about those things at thestitchtvshow.com.
Our show today is brought to you by the Stitch TV show shop. You can find digital quilt patterns, branded show merchandise like t-shirts. We have a bunch of new ones out there. Mugs, laser cut applique kits, and more. Today we're going to be talking about thread sketching and fusible applique, and we're joined by our quilt Nifty Christmas, which is a charm pack quilt, and it's our 5-inch square friendly pattern. You can get your copy of this pattern at our shop, shop.thestitchtvshow.com.
Now, I claim this is a table runner.
It's a wall hanging.
It's a table runner.
It's a difference of opinion.
That is true.
Because I'm going to hang it on the wall. I mean, yes, it could be a table runner, but if it's a table runner, only half the people at your table can read it. The other half have to be the Ginger Rogers of table runners.
Perfect. You know who's going to be looking at it most at my house? Cats.
Cats.
You know what? Cats can't read. It's going to make a great toboggan no matter where it is.
So then it won't be on the table. It'll be on the floor.
Oh, but then you pick it up and you do it all over again.
It's fun.
Oh, yeah.
The cats love it.
Delightful.
Slookies, they just want to lick whatever crumbs are on it if it's on the table.
Oh, the cats do that too.
I have to be careful because they'll get up on the table after we have dinner. They're up on the table looking at, did they put any crumbs? Is there anything left?
We had shrimp for dinner last night.
Ooh.
That is a great attraction.
Yeah, I bet.
They're all like,
where did that come? Yes, please.
So what else is up?
You know what? Pam and I don't always get to take classes together, but when we do, we take classes from Karen Stone. That's what happens. Bam. No. So we took a class from Karen Stone, and I took a 2-day class, and then you and I took a 1-day class together.
Yes.
So in the 2-day class, I'm going to show you an example of what I did. So it was English paper piecing, not English paper piecing.
No.
Sorry, that was later. This is a traditional paper piecing. But what was really cool about it is it's a New York Beauty, which is kind of a quilt that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And we had a lot of color theory, which if you have not seen Karen Stone's quilts, her quilts are simple eye candy. Go out, just Google them, and they're incredible. But this was the Cinco de Mayo quilt that she taught us. What was really cool, different about paper piecing is this technique where we kind of got to do these points with this really small inner border. There's a cool technique of how she has us do that, which is a little bit different than traditional paper piecing. But, oh my gosh, what a wonderful one person. Mm-hmm. Lovely. I got to have dinner with her. It was awesome. I volunteered. I was like, I'll take her to dinner. Because I totally fangirled her.
And then she fangirled you right back.
I know. It was weird. It was like, because I've been a fan of Karen Stone's for a long time. So got to take the English paper piecing, or not English paper piecing, sorry, traditional paper piecing Cinco de Mayo class, which was really, it's a New York Beauty.
Yeah.
It's a take on her New York Beauty.
Now, the one we had together was, in fact, English paper piecing, but by machine. And
right.
So this is Lynn's sample. I did a different one. Mine is aggressively cheerful.
It is.
It is on brand.
And it's got a cat.
It does have a cat in the middle.
So, but you would not believe that all of these seams are glued.
And you haven't stitched yours yet.
I have not stitched mine yet.
I'm waiting to.
Well, you've got a spreadsheet of things that I've been having to get done.
It may have given us a whole lot of work.
Yes.
Kind of harsh in my fun jam.
It's totally harsh in mine.
Work jam.
Like, I would like to do more of the English paper piecing.
Stop it.
I would like to do this as well as the New York Beauty. And I'm doing the stitch stuff right now. So
we'll get there.
I know
we're going to have like an amazing Thanksgiving break.
I know. And it's going to be all fun.
It's just fun stuff.
Just fun stuff.
Like there's a week of fun stuff.
I got to make Christmas presents too. So that
could be fun.
That's true.
It's not the pressure of, I have to film it. Like, no, I just get to sew it and I don't have to tell anybody about it.
Yes, exactly.
Secret stuff.
So loved Karen Stone. If you get to take a Karen Stone class, please sign up. You will enjoy your day. She's brilliant at color. She's brilliant at just some of her techniques are so great. And what a lovely person and a great class. I enjoyed all 3 days I got to spend with her. So, and now she's a fan of the Stitch. She's watching the Stitch. So hi, Karen. Love you. We love you. So it was fun.
Alrighty. So thread sketching or thread painting. I think we had thread painting on there, and I'm like, well, I do sketching, which is like slightly less intense thread painting.
Yeah, it is.
First, what is
less.
thread painting?
I mean, for me to define it, it's, using thread to develop the motif,
Okay.
right? So
With or without piecing, does that matter? Is it traditionally not piecing?
it could be with or without piecing, yeah. I think as long as thread is what's developing the motif of whatever motif that is. I mean,
Gotcha.
it could be flowers, it could be, rocks, could be the side of a barn. I don't know. There's lots of things that you can look at thread.
I saw a hilarious
sketching.
weird news commercial last night. It was like, Piedmont Park boulder. Why is it still there? And it was just like a picture of a boulder in the middle of a sidewalk. And my husband and I are like, what? This is news? A rock. Anyway, sidebar.
Well, okay. So I think when I think of thread sketching or thread painting, I think I just have thread or painting more so than sketching. Although this borders.
I think because you have patience for it. I just want to get it done. So mine just looks kind of sketchy.
You're like, I just want to get things done. That's
I
it.
do.
That's all I have time for. But this is probably what you would consider more thread sketching.
I think the brickwork, yes. I think the thread painting comes out in the
painting
trees.
is the tree. Yeah, I would definitely say that's kind of the two differences. Maybe the difference is thread sketching adds to what's already there, where thread painting defines it completely.
Good definition.
Right? So the conifer trees, if the thread wasn't there, you wouldn't have a tree. It would be gone. Whereas this, you would still have this wall there, but the thread sketching adds the bricks, that kind of stuff. It defines that area. So this was a class, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the teacher that I took. This class, her technique was that she used Pellon, really stiff.
Decor bond.
Decor bond.
Yeah.
And you thread painted on that. And that's the key with thread sketching or thread painting.
Stabilizing.
Is stabilizing. And if you do any embroidery, I mean, it's the same principle of that. So this is definitely, you stabilize the entire piece, which for me, this kind of limits what you can do because you can only do as big as the decor bond is wide. It makes you do smaller work. And there are thread painters out there. Nancy Prince is one, where she does full-size quilts with thread painted work. And part of her technique, which is a little bit different, is she uses a hooping technique. And she takes tulle, organza,
which you can buy by the yard.
And then she uses this sticky fabric solvay,
which is a sulky product.
Product, yeah.
Now, does that come in sheets or does that come in like big rolls or bolts or whatever?
I know it comes in sheets. I think you can order it in rolls, but I'm not sure. But I know it comes in sheets.
Yes.
Because
that was a sheet.
I have the sheets. That's how I know. But what's cool about this is what you do is then you print your image. And this is a copyright-free John Tenney drawing from the Alice in Wonderland books, the original drawings from the books. And so I'm going to thread paint the white rabbit. So I copyright.
Let us pause for a moment to point out that was a doorstop spring and not a horrific episode of flatulence. Just going to put that out there. There's a reason we call our production staff Accidental Foley. That was delightful. Thank you for that addition to our show. We're going to carry on about thread painting now. Good times, guys. It's all fun and stitch.
So what you would do though is because I don't know how do we come back from this really. So what's cool about this fabric, you can print on this fabric solving.
We're just going to leave this in, guys.
Yeah, because this is how we roll,
A
really.
little behind the scenes action.
So
It's a
you
stitch.
could you can print. I'm trying to finish teaching.
Yes.
So you can print on this solvay, which is cool.
Inkjet, laser, both, neither, either.
Okay, you always want to use an inkjet,
Yes.
not laser.
The heat does bad things.
Yeah, I don't know what it would do to the inside of your laser
I think it would gum it
printer.
up.
It would be
I
bad.
think it kind of melts and sticks to your cartridge
Would
and
not
gums
be
it up.
good.
So inkjet only.
So you're going to print your design on through inkjet on this solvay product. Then you're going to take this and you're going to attach it to your organza.
That goes under the organza or on top of the organza?
It goes under. I don't remember now. I think it goes under the organza. Okay. I would have to look. I will verify.
I would think that yes, you want the organza on top.
Right. So, because this washes away. This washes away.
Yes.
And it's sticky, so you get to stick it on. No, you want this on top. You want this on top.
Okay, because the sticky part on the back sticks to the tool.
To the tool, right.
And then underneath the tool goes what?
Nothing. Nothing. Because what you're doing is you are then
Don't you need stabilizer?
This is stabilizer.
Okay.
This is your stabilizer.
It's a journey of discovery together, guys.
Right. So you thread paint on this.
Gotcha.
Right? Through the organza. And what you do is you hoop it.
Okay. That gives you some stability to it.
That gives you some stability. And this is a different technique, and I'm going to talk about this in the middle, but you want this wooden hoop, like a 6 or 7-inch wooden hoop, 5-inch wooden hoop.
Something that is...
that you're going to hoop these two things together.
Not bigger than the harp space of your machine.
Exactly, that you can move around, right? So, and what you're doing is you are using the thread to thread paint on this through that hoop. And then when you're done, you then take a, not a heat gun, one of those heat knives.
That you use to cut foam?
Yes, right.
What if you don't have one of those?
Well, you want to use, you need to cut the edge of this, and if you melt the edge of it, that disappears. That's why you only use poly or rayon thread. Okay. You never use cotton thread.
Or it'll light on fire.
Yeah. That's it. It will burn up. Seriously. Oops.
So poly thread only. And that what this technique is doing, honestly, is allowing you to put then this image on a bigger quilt with applique so that you are not limited to the size of the decor bond. Do you see what I'm saying? Yes. So in the actual stitching of things, you're essentially set up for a free motion setup.
It's a free motion setup. You drop the feed dogs, put on your hopping foot.
Or your darning foot.
Or darning foot, yeah. And you free motion sketch.
Now, are you looking for particular fill patterns, or are you just kind of following the lines?
It depends on what it is. Yeah.
So if it's a tree,
if I'm looking at this,
shapes.
if I'm looking at this, I'm going to use short little stitches back and forth on his fur because his fur's not super long, compared to doing long stitches on this grass that's tall.
Yes.
Right? So, and if I'm thread painting his face, I'm going to stitch out of, away from his eye like this to give that contour. So you have to think about, it's like drawing in a lot of ways.
For example, on his flank, so you've done the little back and forth stitches, are you then leaving the rest of his flank open?
Not with this technique, because if you do not fill everything in, you've got holes in him.
Right.
Yeah, with this technique, you have to fill everything in. That's true painting. It's like, because whatever you lay him on top of, you're going to see the organza behind it, and then it would be on top of fabric. So you have to fill everything in on this technique. Now, the other technique is this, is where you print your image, and this is Miss Josie, my dog, Josie. So you print the image on through your computer with your inkjet on fabric.
Mhm.
And this is poplin. It's not cotton. It's
Okay.
more.
So it's like a lighter hand.
It's a lighter hand. It's thinner. But I'm going to hoop it just like I did the other. Now, with this technique, I'm layering my batting in this so that gives me more stabilization. The hoop provides stabilization. And is there may be something, nope, there's not. It's just batting in this. And then this allows me to thread paint on top of a picture. So at that point, it's kind of color by number.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if I leave open space, guess what? That's okay because now this is where I'm limited with this is I'm limited because of how much I can print.
Right, the size.
The size again. Whereas the other, I can do it away from the quilt and then apply it to the quilt.
Unless you got it printed at, say, a digital print shop like Spoonflower.
Exactly.
Because they have so many different strata of fabric that you could do a bigger piece like that.
Yeah, exactly. You totally could. And then you're just moving this along.
Yeah, you unhoop and rehoop.
Well, or if you've got a long arm, do the whole
that's
thing.
true.
You can do the whole thing. Now, how I would do that, though, is I would put a backing and my batting. And what I would do is I would do a false back. So I would put a really cheap muslin or inexpensive for my backing.
Mm-hmm.
Put the batting that I want in it. For me, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to do cotton and wool. Then I'm going to thread paint as much as I want to thread paint. Except for like outlining things.
Right.
Or black lines or whatever. Then I'll put another backing on and I would quilt through that. Thread painting just a limited amount so that people are not going to see all of this on the back of my quilts.
Right.
That's what if I'm doing it on a long arm, that's what I would do.
No, that's not necessarily a false back. It is a second back. Because a false back means you don't see any stitching on the back.
True.
Okay.
Technically, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because many quilt shows have rules, no false backs. Because in order to judge effectively, they want to see the quality of the stitch on the back.
So you're just putting a second back on. And what you're doing is you're hiding all your stitches.
Right.
And you'll notice this looks like an embroidery.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I got accused of doing embroidery.
It wasn't an accusation. It was a comment.
It was, yeah.
They didn't know you would take it as an accusation.
I was like, I didn't do that. That was not embroidery. That was literally thread painted. So, but here's the deal for this. Lots and lots of thread. If you're going to start thread painting, it's a ton of threads. And if you're doing this, I mean, I bet you there are 12 different colors in her right now. Because you lay down thread and then you lay down a highlight. Like there's colors underneath her eyebrow. You know, there's probably 4 or 5 different colors in her eye. So, I mean, it's lots and lots of thread. And the other thing that I'm a stickler about is lots of bobbins. Because I will match my thread, top thread, to my bobbin. So I don't get any of those little dots coming up that I don't want to show. Unless that's the technique and I like that look.
Right.
So it's very time consuming. Thread paint, I love the results. Super time consuming. But it's one of my favorite things to do, as we can see.
And with this technique, you're free to use cotton thread because you're not trying to separate anything with heat later.
Right.
Gotcha.
Only if you're using, and I'm sorry I can't remember, it's almost a pen tool. They use it in beading maybe. It's a heat knife. It's a knife, but it's got a heat element to it. So it kind of burns the edge of things. I'll have to go in there and look at it and tell you what it is. So we'll put it in the show notes for sure. But that allows you to take out with this tool and this other technique, it allows you to go in here and go around the rabbit, so that I just see the edge of the thread and not any of this stuff in the background. And you burn it away, and then or melt it away, and essentially you're doing an applique stitch around it.
Yeah.
And I would use invisible thread so you can't tell. But that's really take a Nancy Prince class, honestly, but that's kind of the high level of what she does. It's incredible. I love her work, and I love thread painting. So I'm glad you put this on the thing so I can talk about it.
Okay.
Yay!
All right. Well, we are going to take a little break so you guys can take a closer look at Nifty Christmas, and we'll be right back.
All right, we're back. Yay, us.
We made it.
We calmed down the production staff so they would be more, just saying. Anyway.
I don't know what they're doing now.
It's kind of scary.
Crazy.
Anyway, so we're going to talk about Fusible Applique.
Yes.
How much do you do a lot of applique?
I do more now.
Because you're my friend?
No, just because I finally figured out.
No, you're not my friend.
Yeah, we're done.
And we're done.
Surprise. No, I do more now because I finally have gotten comfortable with the fact that, like, okay, I figured out the right fusible to use so it doesn't just like fray on first washing, because that's my fear. Like, you put all this effort into trying to finish the edge nice, and then you wash it, and then it's like, you got weird raggedy stuff. So
right.
I think in a show quilt we'll do a turned under edge.
Right.
But I'm more comfortable with like a casual fusible style.
Well,
and you have to pick the right fabric for it too, is the other thing. Like, I've learned there are certain fabrics that are
harder to use.
Yeah. They're hard. They fray more.
Shot cotton.
Shot cotton. Oh, that's not a good one for a fusible applique. It's worked okay for a hand applique project I'm doing.
It's tough to use just because it's
such a loose weave.
Yeah. But I love the look of it. So
yes.
Yeah. Peppered cotton and shot cotton are loose weave.
Mm-hmm.
So
like a homespun almost.
Yeah. So a homespun is another example that they're harder to use. Yeah. So have you ever done flannel?
Not as applique.
I think I have.
I think when I've seen it done well, it's meant to go fray on the edge, and that's really successful in that look.
I think I've seen it like on a snowman, and it's the scarf or whatever.
And then the scarf is meant to
have the frays. That looks good. Yeah. So I like Fusible Applique. I know you're shocked, but we've written a couple of patterns with Fusible Applique. And this one right here. This actually, when I started teaching applique, this is what I came up with to teach with.
And it's not really a pattern. It's a kit that we sell.
It's a kit.
Prefused,
you can
laser cut.
I put borders around it and put it a pillow on one of my benches in my house.
I would make it a wall hanging. Because we can't agree on any kind of form for anything.
Yes, exactly. So there's a couple of tips with Fusible Applique. Backwards. Yes, that's important.
Backwards, especially for font.
Anything that has a certain direction has to be backwards. So if you want your owl to be pointing this way, you have to do it this way for it to point this way.
And why is that, Lynn? Tell us how Fusible Applique works.
Because you are putting the fusible on the back side of the fabric and then applying it. So when you draw it or trace it, it has to be backwards so that when you apply it to the front of your quilt and applique it down, it's mirrored. Yeah. So anytime you're doing lettering or fonts, you're going to have to do all of these backward. And then the other thing you have to think is when you're doing fonts, you have to do the insides of letters.
A lot of thread breaks.
It is a lot of thread breaks. That's the bad part about Fusible Applique is you do have to go around all the outside edges. Now, I most of the time use what they call a blanket stitch, and not all sewing machines have that, which I was kind of surprised.
Or they have variations of it.
Right. I think you actually programmed yours.
I did. So on my Janome machine that I use primarily as my main machine at home, my two options are it will take 2 stitches forward and then 1 bite in, so it'll do like 2 and then 1. Not my perfect one. Or it'll do 1, but it'll do it like as a double stitch.
Right.
which makes it an extra thick line on the edge, which I didn't care for. So I
Right.
figured out through like some ninja Googling and the actual manual for the machine how to program a stitch. It would take one stitch forward, stitch over, stitch back, and one forward. And it's set to like the exact kind of width that I like,
Yep.
which is great as long as I'm using a fabric that doesn't fray, which was where I fell down one of the couple months ago when I did one. And I was like, ugh, it frayed after I washed it. So I went back after I had washed it and like just did another row of stitching around that edge.
So
Quilting.
the traditional blanket stitch is one stitch down, one stitch directly in or right angle, one stitch back in, same on that same line, and then another stitch down, right angle, back in, down, right angle, back in. And that's traditional blanket stitch, but you do see some, and I think one of my machines even does double, 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 and it does give you a heavier look, which is very actually common or traditional. It mimics embroidery floss with the thickness of it, and you'll see it done like in 30s quilts with like black thread, which has a certain look to it kind of thing. It gives you that look or whatever.
And you see it a lot in like primitive style and some folk art where it's meant to have. And even then, the stitches themselves are a little wider and a little longer just to really emphasize it.
They're not trying to be hidden.
Right.
They're trying to be shown. So anytime you're doing fusible applique, I think you've got tons of choices. And part of the choices is what stitch. Another common stitch that people use is a zigzag stitch. And again, it's just but what it does is it does more V's, right, when it goes. And you can shorten the length of those or widen it so that the V's are more pronounced. And it's a look. Now, here's what I like when I do applique, and not all sewing machines can do this, but if you have this option, try this out. Just trust me on it. My machine has the ability to move needle position. And what I do is I move my needle position all the way over to the right, the farthest I can go. That way I know that the needle is always going to go down right next to the edge of my foot.
And it's an open toe foot?
And it's an open toe foot. Sorry, I should have said that. And I use a Bernina, so it's a 20 foot. But if that needle position moves all the way over to the right, I know when I line up just the edge, I'm going to go over here and show you this, just the edge of that black, I line that up right next to my foot. I know that my needle's dropping right on the outside of that black. And when it takes its bite in, it's going to be right on the edge. And it allows me to lay that thread right on the edge of it, which is really good applique. If you see any of the background in between your applique and your stitches, that you need to work on tightening that up, because that's the difference between, really good and excellent.
What you can do, get a little old pen, a fabric pen.
Yeah,
that's
you
the
can
same
totally
color
do
as your applique shape. You just just knock that right out.
Now, on this, I'm going to go back over here. On this, I chose to have the same colors as matching my thread on these spools choices so that it didn't stand out. I didn't want you to see the thread compared to what we were talking about with the black. But if you're using a zigzag stitch, and I just want to show this needle really quick. If you're using the zigzag stitch, you can shrink the length of that stitch, and essentially what you're doing is doing a satin stitch at that point. So again, use all the thread show.
Yes.
All the thread.
All the thread.
Yeah. So you're going to use a ton more thread doing a satin stitch, but it gives you a smoother line, and I wanted that to replicate the smooth side of a needle when I did that.
Perfect.
So that's another option. So you can use satin stitches around applique. It's going to give you a different look if that's what you're going for.
And be careful, too. Sometimes when you do that, it can cause puckering of the background fabric, so you may need stabilizer behind it.
Yes, and I got away with it on this because essentially it's going through the layer of the spool, the needles on the background of a spool. And so it gave me a few more layers to go through.
Now, in some applique, there are instructions to trim away the background underneath the shape. In Fusible,
No.
nope.
No. You can trim away the glue.
Yes, which will help with stiffness, particularly if it's meant to
Right.
be a functional or a bed quilt, not a wall hanging.
Yeah, so if we're going back over here, like honestly, you can trim away all the glue in the middle of the spool. And if you feel this, I did.
Yeah.
And saves your fusible. Like it's
Because then you can just trim a tiny shape out of
right,
what you cut out of the middle.
Exactly. So, and if you have big pieces, you just want that edge to be glued down. You don't need the whole thing to be glued down. So, and there's definitely ways to do that. But this is available from us online. So if you're interested, hit the shop. But
So let's say, that's available as a kit where it's like laser cut, pre-fused, good to go.
Right.
When you're sketching it yourself.
Almost the same fabrics. Almost.
If you're doing it yourself, it will be helpful to have a light box or a window and to work on it during the daytime.
Yes.
So you can tape up your pattern and your paper backed either on the window or on top of your light box. And just be careful. Don't feel like, oh, I can totally just fuse this on my light box with your iron. No, because light boxes are not heat resistant.
No, don't do that.
Ask us how we know that.
Do you know that? I've not done it on my light box.
I've taken a little risks and just kind of like tapped it with an iron to get it to just kind of stick and then transport it over to the pressing surface.
I can't say that I didn't do that with my cutting mat the other day. I just went really quick. Not like set it down, just like trying to get some.
Living on the edge.
I'm living on the edge, yeah, with the iron. It's crazy. But use a blanket stick as blanket stick. Stitch, zig-zag stitch. Or you can also use invisible thread, which is a little bit more fussy to use, but...
Pro tip, about an hour before you want to use your monofilament thread, stick it in the freezer.
Yeah.
Because monofilament thread is fairly notorious for just going whee! It's very exuberant when it comes off the spool.
It is.
You want to tamp that down. You don't want too much of a party in your sewing room because you got business to take care of.
Yes.
So calm it down in the freezer about an hour ahead of time.
I think, okay.
But don't forget it. It's not going to damage it, but your roommates or your family is going to go in there to get some ice cream or something. They're going to be like, why is there thread in the freezer? What is happening?
What is happening? I think applique goes faster than people. If you do fusible, I can rock out applique pretty quickly and get a big, like on this, you can get kind of a big piece done faster than piecing a bunch of blocks.
Yeah.
It probably took me longer to piece those blocks than it did to do that center thing.
Okay, now another tip. So I very much like to just kind of get a large amount of whatever supply. So I have it on hand. I don't have to run out to the store. But Fusible does have a shelf life. The glue will kind of lose effectiveness after a while.
Really?
It will. So like I have a bolt I bought of a particular brand, and I can tell the difference. I'm like, it's a little dodgy. So
really?
if
maybe that's my problem. I never noticed it.
And if you can't overheat it with the iron too.
Depends on which one.
True.
Okay, so there's a product called Heat and Bond, and there's a product called Wonder Under, and those are kind of the two big products that you can get at box stores. There's also there's Misty Fuse, Soft Fuse, which is a really good one. But the two most common is Heat and Bond and
Wonder Under.
Wonder Under. Heat and Bond is a chemical. Wonder Under is spun glue. So every time you put iron to Wonder Under, it reignites the glue. If you keep putting the iron to Heat and Bond, it loses its chemical reactive. It burns it out, essentially, and it stops gluing. So it has a lifespan, whereas Wonder Under does not. I've never not been able to reheat Wonder Under.
Okay, good to know.
Because of the spun. And by the way, we're not sponsored by any of these. I'm telling you my experience with this product. I like both products. Heat and Bond seals the edges. If you're worried about washing,
Yeah.
and you want those edges really sealed,
And it comes in different weights.
it does. Heat and Bond Ultra, you don't even have to sew.
Oh, you in fact should not because your needle is going to
needle will, yes. But Heat and Bond Light is the right product to use for Fusible Applique if you're going to sew it down. And with Heat and Bond, if you really want that edge to never fray, that's the product to use. Understand, don't burn it out or it won't glue down. So that's the difference in those two.
Well, we've all learned something today.
And Soft Fuse is similar to Wonder Under.
And
it's actually distributed by a friend of ours. Really great. I love Soft Fuse, but you just have to be very gentle with working it. The glue separates from the paper easier than Wonder Under does. But it's a really good product.
You can run it through your inkjet printer.
Yes.
So you don't have to trace. So if you have...
Soft Fuse does that.
Bought a pattern, like, I don't know, say from shop.thestitchtvshow.com.
There you go.
That has applique in it. You can run that through the sheet of Soft Fuse through an inkjet printer. Again, not a laser printer.
Not a laser,
because it's going to melt the glue and gum up the inside of the printer.
Put heats in it. Now, I will say the shop, if you're buying Fusible from us, it's done with Heat and Bond Light because that works best for the laser cutter.
Yes.
So, just so you know, that's what will be on the back of those products, which gives you a really smooth edge. Just don't apply heat. Now, it'll let you do it. I'm not saying don't apply heat, but if you just continue to press it or whatever, and yeah, it's done.
Yeah.
Now, neither one of these are repositionable.
Oh, yeah. Once it's on, it's on.
It's on. If you're wanting repositionable, you have to use Steam-A-Seam 2, which is super gluey and super messy, and I never like it for Fusible Applique, but I love it for other techniques. So, but it's repositionable because it's tacky, and you can... move it to where you want it. But once you apply the heat to either of the other products, it's down.
Yeah.
And you're done. That's where it's going.
T for done.
Yeah, exactly. I've played with a lot of fusibles, so like I do have opinions on how they're used.
She has a lot of opinions about a lot of things.
That's so true. It's bad.
All righty. So do you feel the fuse or do you keep applique few and far between? You can let us know. Leave a comment on our blog or the YouTube episode or in our Facebook group, What's Up Stitches.
What's Up Stitches?
And that's all we have for this episode. Today's show is made possible by the Stitch TV Show shop, your place for quilt patterns, the Stitch TV Show merchandise, and laser cut applique kits.
We'd like to thank 77 Peaches and Big Think Productions for helping produce The Stitch. If you've enjoyed the show, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on the notifications on YouTube so you know immediately when we drop a new episode.
Now, our next virtual stitch-in is going to be Friday, December 14th. Because we are going to Quilt Market very shortly, we are having to skip our November virtual stitch-in.
And we're sorry about that. We are, but there's no way. We don't know what our
Wi-Fi is going to be kind of dodgy.
Yeah.
Now, we are going to have short video clips go up about Market, so hopefully that will hold you over. But Friday, December 14th, 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern, broadcast live on our YouTube channel. And then our next book club is going to be November 30th. My podcast Tip to Be Square is out Fridays, sometimes Saturdays, like today, on iTunes or Google Play.
All those details and more can be found on our website, thestitchtvshow.com, thestitchtvshow.com, along with links to purchase the TV show merchandise. Tune in next time for more Quilting Chat with Friends.